Sonic 2 is a game that I have such fond memories with. Whilst not being my favourite classic Sonic game, it is one I can have fun with and enjoy going back to every so often.
And funnily enough, one of my earliest memories is playing this game's multiplayer with my brother. I think I was Tails and he was Sonic, and I remember having a lot of fun. But that was 20 years ago, and I haven't played Sonic 2 in such a long time. So how does it hold up in the modern day? Let's find out. But firstly, as we've been doing these past few videos, let's take a look through the manual and see what it says.
The first thing we see, besides this really weird artwork, like, why is Eggman huge here, is this small plot synopsis that tells you the story of the game and basically spoils the final level. Which is nice. The manual here is basically the same as Sonic 1, so I can welcome you back with open arms to the weirdly named special items like the Super Ring Monitor and the play tips that somehow this game has but Sonic CD doesn't. Like, maybe if you told me what to do in the goddamn game, it wouldn't be so hard. The way it is now, that game can suck camel shit through a boba straw. I got off track here at some point. Are those sausages? We also see the new special stages for this game. For you see, if you pass through one of these checkpoints scattered throughout the level with 50 rings or more, you get sent to the special stage where you can get a Chaos Emerald.
It's a secret that takes you to a new zone rather than a giant ring that takes you to a special sort of stage. So you're telling me the Sonic 1 special stages were called secret zones when they weren't even secret, and the Sonic 2 special stages are called special stages when they're not special at all? They're secrets! You wouldn't find them half the time!
Sonic 3 has this same problem. Sega, why do you suck at naming things? Sonic X Shadow? Seriously? Let me just look that up on Google without safe search. Oh my god, I can't show this.
I think it's time to get into the game before I pop a blood vessel.
The game starts up, and after the menu fades, we're thrown into Emerald Hill, which is Green Hill. But besides that, this level is pretty fun. It's got these corkscrews, this cool double loop that gives a middle finger to Green Hill's single pathetic loop, and different enemies, including this monkey that annoys the hell out of me. I swear, it's like as soon as you jump, he throws the coconut every single time. It's also here where I gained access to the first special stage, and
I'm gonna do something that I never thought I'd ever do. I'm gonna apologize to Sonic CD. I'm sorry. I thought you had the ugliest and worst controlling special stages, but no! That honor goes to Sonic 2 and its disorienting half-pipe.
the key to beating these special stages is to collect the amount of coins it tells you and avoid any bombs that get in your way, which in the first one is pretty easy to do considering the rings are really easy to get and the bombs are easy to avoid. Pretty simple, right? Well, in this one, yes, but you'll see later on that some of these special stages can border on the lines of insanity. Either way, we get the emerald in the first special stage and finish the level. Act 2 has more of the same stuff from Act 1, but it also has spikes that shoot from the ceiling and the ground, and springs that send you directly into spikes. Also, Tails went upside down here. What? I also got to the second special stage here, and it was fine. It puts bombs directly in your path, so you actually have to move so you can avoid them, which, now that I think about it, can you win without moving in the first one? No. No, you can't. It also likes putting bombs directly in your path when you can't see what's coming up ahead. Like, how was I meant to see that coming? And we got the second emerald and made it to the end of the level, where we encounter Eggman and fight him in his egg drillster. Yes, gone are the days of 3 acts and a boss being at the end of the third. Sonic 2 cuts out the fluff and gives you 2 and a boss, which I think is the better choice. The boss here is pretty simple, which is to be expected. All you do is jump on him and avoid the drill on the front of his vehicle, which it will shoot out when he's one hit away from defeat. And with that, we're done with Emerald Hill and on to the next stage, which is... I jest, of course, but the novelty of Chemical Plant has forever been ruined by games like Forces and Frontiers, and at least Mania did something different with Act 2 of the stage. Like, remember the Bounty Goop? I do. And it's great. Here, though, it's alright, and I mean, it doesn't help that I beat the level in under a minute, not coming across a single checkpoint, so there goes the chance of getting an emerald, but I digress. Act 2, though? Well, it lasts longer than a minute, so that's a good sign. Got the usual Chemical Plant things like the tubes and these grabby guys, the moving blocks, and the infamous pink water which haunted many a child's nightmares. Not me, though. This section haunted me so many times as a kid that I learned it inside and out and can get through it with minimal effort. At the end of this level, we get another encounter with Eggman and his new egg poison. Guess what it does? It slurps up the pink water and drops it on you. Does that imply the pink water is poison? If so, then that's very problematic, because he was submerged in it just a second ago. Sonic, I'd get checked if I were you. Aquatic Ruin Zone, the water level of this game. But unlike many other water levels in this franchise, if you play well enough, you can avoid the water altogether.
Yeah, I did say if.
The level itself though is pretty fun and nowhere near the ball lake that Labyrinth Zone is. It's got these pillars that shoot arrows out when you run past them, these enemies that always reminded me of Grounder from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Does anyone even remember that show? These pillars that you can make collapse by jumping on them, and these fish enemies that hit me even though I was fucking rolling! Also couldn't get the emerald here either, which was annoying because I have 40 rings and there was a ring monitor right there, but in my haste I hit the checkpoint and couldn't get it. Other than that, the level's fine, and Act 2 is just more of the same, except there's these pillars that break apart and fall on you, these swinging platforms, a death pit that isn't really a death pit, oh, and a spring that sends you directly into enemies. Which is fair. Oh god, these physics are great! And we're on to our next boss, the Egg Hammer. To beat this boss, you need to make Eggman hit these pillars to send out arrows that stick into the opposite one, after which you need to use those arrows as a platform to reach him. Or if you're a god like me, you can stand on top of the pillars as they rise up and charge a spin dash to hit Eggman directly. Damn it! A pretty good boss to end off this level. Casino Night Zone is the first true casino zone of the franchise, and I know I called them pinball levels in my previous Sonic videos, but casino is what I meant. My brain just forgets words and fills in said forgotten words with other words sometimes. So yeah. This level's pretty good. It's probably one of my favourites in the game just based on aesthetic alone. And it's pretty fun too. With all the bumpers and flippers, it's a really cool way to make a level that centers around Sonic's weight and momentum. There's not many enemies here either, and with all the slot machines being abundant in this level, it's a really good way of gaining a lot of rings and keeping a lot of rings. Too bad I couldn't find any fucking checkpoints!
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just bad at Sonic games.
I don't think there's even any differences between Act 1 and 2. Like, at least in the other levels they added more enemies or made platforming trickier, but here, there's basically nothing. And I finally managed to get into another special stage. Now I think it's at this point where I should mention my main problem with these special stages. This yellow fuck! Tails follows you during these special stages, and you can move him and make him jump the same way you can with Sonic. Their movements are linked, so if Sonic moves, Tails moves, and if Sonic jumps, Tails jumps, etc. But for some reason, Tails has about a second of delay to his movements, so if you jump as Sonic, Tails jumps a second later. So that means in the special stages that have a lot of bombs to avoid, I basically had to babysit Tails and move and jump early to make sure Tails doesn't get hit, while trying to collect a lot of rings, whilst also making sure Tails doesn't get too many rings, because if he gets hit once on a good run, and he has about 15 rings, you can basically kiss the emerald goodbye, which, trust me, will happen!
If you somehow managed to get all the emeralds in this game on the Genesis version where you couldn't use save states or retry the special stages, I salute you. You have way more patience than me when it comes to this shit.
After we get through that, we're back into the level, and we immediately find another checkpoint and enter the fourth special stage. Besides the things I just mentioned in the previous segment, this one was fine. The only thing of note being this part where you need to move to different sides of the half-pipe whilst the center is littered in bombs, and due to Tails' delayed AI, he hit damn near every single one of them. Other than that, it was fine. Also this! Onto the boss now, the Egg Claw. He flies around and drops bombs on you, and the only way to hit him is to use Sonic's momentum and launch yourself to hit him. But don't use the flippers or you'll be sent to the very top of the arena. Also, I really like the design of the Eggmobile here. A couple of bonks and we're done with the level. Pretty good all things considered. This level is so fun, I'm so excited!
First enemy. And the second.
This level is really fun though. It's like Emerald Hill but with more platforming. Makes me think if this was supposed to be the second level of the game in development. You know, before they scrapped the time travel mechanic from the game. Gee, I wonder why. It's really fun and even has this bit underground where lava starts rising up and you have to escape in time. It's also here where I did this sick maneuver of spin dashing and skimming over the lava. Didn't get the emerald though. Act 2 is similar in structure. I mean, it even has the same rising lava segment from Act 1, but this time it's an actual platforming challenge and it lasts way longer. And I managed to get into a special stage here. You see, this one is cool because it puts rings above you, which you have to launch yourself to get. Although now that I'm saying that, I think the second one does that too. But this one is different because it basically requires you to do that in order to win. This one was pretty easy to get through. Boss time, and...
It's Eggman!
This boss, named the Egg Scorcher Mark II, is pretty tricky. He stays submerged in the lava most of the time, making it really risky to attack him. Like, do I hit him twice and get out, or do I hit him 3 times and risk being damaged by the fire? He does occasionally exit the lava to fire fire at you, but other than that, there's not much to it. On to the next level now, Mystic Cave Zone, and the level design itself is pretty fun, but the constant enemies and traps makes it more annoying than it should be. I mean, lest we forget about the infamous pit, which I didn't see because I'm great. I also got to the 6th special stage here. This one has you avoiding a crap ton of bombs. Guess what the problem is? I swear, man, some of these bombs come out of nowhere. Like, how the hell is that fair? And also this part here where you have to jump through these rings of bombs, but if you do, oops, you missed a ton of rings and lost, so you need to jump early because of something we didn't warn you about. This one sucked. And you know what, so did that too. Just the same annoying enemies and traps, but again, and this time there's more of them. The only silver lining here is I got to go to the last special stage.
Now, do you remember that part from Special Stage 4 where you had to alternate different sides of the half-pipe or bombs were scattered in the middle, whilst collecting rings on either side of the half-pipe, and Tails was constantly getting hit by damn near every single bomb? You do?
Well, how would you like to do that for an entire level, where sometimes the rings alternate sides, but sometimes they just don't, making it annoying, so you basically have to guess which sides the rings may be on. And then it ends with rings being scattered everywhere and bomb rings showing up occasionally? Damn, this one sucked balls. And with that, we've completed all the special stages and gotten all the Chaos Emeralds.
But what do you get for completing all the special stages, I hear you ask? Well, for one, you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Yes, there are 7 in this game now. Where did the 7th one come from? Up by us.
But by using all 7 Chaos Emeralds and harnessing their power, Sonic can transform into
Super Sonic!
And by doing so, we eviscerate Eggman in his new Egg Digger and move on to the next level, Oil Ocean Zone. Act 1 was fun now that I wasn't worrying too much about the special stages and could just blast through with Super Sonic. It's got its fair share of tricky platforming and annoying enemies, and the slides and cannons that take you to different parts of the level, but other than that it was okay, and a nice change of pace from me constantly worrying about my rings. And Act 2 is more of the same, but there's also these spikes on tubes that occasionally double up, and these weird springs that you have to push in before it launches you. The boss here was pretty simple. He pops up out of the oil where you can hit him a few times, and then he submerges and shoots these claw things in an arc at you, and fires a laser at varying heights at you. But as Super Sonic, he's fairly simple. Metropolis Zone, this game's equivalent of Scrap Brain Zone, and boy does it show. It's got spikes everywhere, annoying enemies, untelegraphed spikes that shoot out of the ground, the screws that go up and down really slowly depending on which way you run while on top of them, the bumpy jumpies, and this enemy whose hitbox is downright bullshit. And Act 2 doesn't change anything, rather it requires you to do platforming while avoiding all of that. Whoa, Tails, how the hell are you doing that? It's all incredibly tough, but a really good lead up to the Act 2 boss. Where is he? So, in a move that I will never understand, they decide to give Metropolis Zone an Act 3? Why? Metropolis isn't even the last zone of the game like Scrap Brain was, so doing this made no sense. But I guess this is the last traditional level of the game, so I suppose I can understand. It's just incredibly weird. They don't even change anything about the stage like Scrap Brain did. It's just the first 2 acts. But again, at least this time there's actually a boss at the end, the Egg Bouncer. He's surrounded by these eggs, and every time you hit him, he sends one out and it turns into a bouncy version of him in his Eggmobile. Get rid of them all and he starts shooting a laser at you from either side of the screen. But one final hit puts him to bed. All in all, why did this need 3 acts? And here we are in Sky Chase, and it is such a nice change of pace. There's no platforming here, rather you just have to stand on the wings of Sonic's plane the Tornado. Yes, it's his, that's why it has his name on it. I wouldn't put a name tag on myself that says Greg, would I? It's not my name. Or is it? All we have to do here is avoid some enemies and send the animals inside of them to their demise. Also, I always thought this was Angel Island as a kid. 2 years before Angel Island was a thing.
Yeah, I'm not the smartest.
Midway through, there's this small cutscene of Eggman flying this massive airship past Sonic and Tails, which I found pretty cool. Survive for long enough and you're on to the next level, Wing Fortress Zone. Now we're on the massive airship that Eggman flew past us in that cutscene, and we have to get him and stop him. And there are a lot of rings in this level, so you know what that means. Whoa! This level's pretty good. More platforming than high-speed action, so Super Sonic ended up hindering me here rather than helping me, but it was still pretty fun. There's these chickens that shoot at you, multiple tense platforming segments above Bottomless Pit, and this cool part here where you're hanging onto the side of the ship and have to let go in order to progress. The boss of this level is fairly simple. What you're supposed to do is use the spiky platforms to reach the core of the light in order to damage it, but if you have Super Sonic you can just cheese it by jumping. After this we get a cutscene of Eggman escaping on a rocket, and with the aid of Tails, Sonic manages to grab onto the rocket and follow Eggman into the final zone of the game, the Death Egg. It's not so much a level as it is rather a battle against 2 bosses with 0 rings, starting with
Okay, so let me clear something up. This is Silver Sonic. This is Metal Sonic. This is Mecha Sonic. And this is Robo Sonic. I don't care that it's from LEGO Dimensions, it just makes the most sense to have a separate name rather than Mecha Sonic Mark II.
Robo Sonic is pretty simple. All you have to do is hit him when he's vulnerable, aka when he's standing still, avoid his spin attack that can shoot spikes out sometimes, and you've basically already won. You can move on to the Death Egg Robot, the most popular fight in the entire Genesis lineup if Generations is anything to go by. Personally, I would have gone with Big Arm, but that's my opinion. And hey, would you look at that? I've seen so many people screw up this fight simply because they rush it, but guys, it's simple. All you need to do is wait for him to be standing completely still and then jump at him. And then, once he flies into the air, just stand at the right side of the screen and move away before he lands. And after that, he shoots his arms out, but if you've got him at the furthest right edge, just run all the way to the left and he can't hit you. After which he'll start walking again and you just wash, rinse, repeat until he's done and you've beaten the game. And check it out, I did it on my very first try. It's really not that hard, guys, come on. After that, we get a cutscene of the Death Egg starting to explode for some reason. Then Sonic runs out of the Death Egg into space for some reason. And we get a final cutscene of Tails going to save Sonic that moved to the right for some reason. Also, Sonic just disappears for no reason whatsoever. Is this a glitch with Origins, or does this happen everywhere else? The cutscene ends and the credits roll.
But don't go anywhere just yet, we got that sweet, sweet music to go over.
No, not that one. Emerald Hill's theme is so much better than Green Hill by a long shot. So is the level actually. And to be honest, if they brought this stage back instead of Green Hill in the future, I really wouldn't mind. Also, is it me or does Emerald Hill sound, I don't know, fuller than Green Hill? Sounds like it has more instruments, but I could be just talking out my ass here. Let me know what you think. Chemical Plant, much like Green Hill, has been done to death by now, but I can still say this track slaps harder than a husband in the 1950s. As a kid, this was one of the songs I heard the most. Well, that and... It's a really good song, although Forces and Frontiers have kind of ruined it. Aquatic Ruin really fits the vibe of the level. It sounds very mystical, and it might just be me, but it also sounds sort of emotional as well. Nothing much else to say really, just a really good song for a really good level. Casino Night Zone has probably one of the most iconic tracks in the entire Sonic franchise. Too bad it's always broken up by it. The song by itself though is a fucking vibe and fits the vibe of the casino really well. Such a good song, might just be my favourite. Hilltop Zone might be another one of my favourites. I already spoke about the... Other than that, it's got a really upbeat vibe and is incredibly catchy. Although sometimes it does sound like there's a fly in your ear. To give Mystic Cave some credit, it does sound like you're in a mystical cave, but other than that there's not much to it. It sounds weirdly spooky and something you'd hear in a Scooby-Doo game or in a Spirit Halloween or something. A really weird vibe, but one I kinda enjoy. Oil Ocean sounds weirdly like something you'd hear in Aladdin, which I can't tell if it's a good thing or a really offensive thing. Other than that, the song's good. Scrap Brain has a really upbeat tune, which is weird considering it's the final traditional level in the game. I think it should sound more menacing and foreboding, but maybe that's just my opinion. Sky Chase is such a nice song. It really makes you feel like you're flying in the sky. With the constant twinkles in the background, it sounds almost magical. Too bad it only lasts for one level. Now, Wing Fortress sounds like a final level. It's so intense and intimidating, and it matches the level so well. The melody that constantly rises in the middle is so good at telling the player the kind of situation they're in. An incredibly good song for the final level. The Death Egg's music is very intimidating. Too bad it gets cut off by the boss theme. Speaking of the boss theme, it is so much better than Sonic 1's boss theme. It's the first boss theme I think of when it comes to Sonic boss themes. Well, that is. Now, the Death Egg Robot theme is such a good final boss theme. While it's not my favourite boss in the Genesis Sonic games, I cannot understate the iconicism of this track and this boss, and doing it without rings just adds to the already intense situation. Overall, an incredibly good track to end the game.
And that's Sonic 2. It really does stand the test of time as one of the best and most iconic platformers, and whilst I do have my problems with it, it's still incredibly fun and a game I could see myself going back to. I genuinely see this game as the true start to the series, so throw it up in A tier! And I'm not doing a tier list.